Robin and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
They took a look at some people, and when it comes to the word being happy, which is hard for some,
Yeah.
Happy all the time. There's just so much junk that's going on in life. And they looked at different categories, like people who are very happy, people who are pretty happy, and then those who are not too happy. Here's one thing that they found as they were looking at this group of people, that those who are very happy had one thing in common. And this one thing in common is their faith in Christ.
Wow. Well, it gives them hope.
Right? People who are very happy. So if there's someone who's really, truly looking for happiness, even in the middle of all the despair that's happening in life, it's a relationship with Jesus that actually makes it happen. And they did a whole study on this.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it was even biased. Like it wasn't from a Christian organization that was doing this study. This was, I guess you would say, almost nonpartisan, I guess you would call, that was doing the study. And so these are true, awesome facts, because it said those who didn't say they believed in God fell under the category of not very happy.
Listen, when I came to Jesus, I was a homeless teenager. In every sense of the word, I had no address whatsoever, nowhere to go. And I gave everything to Christ, and it changed my heart. And I felt something different, but it didn't change my circumstance immediately. It wasn't like, oh, here's yourself a mansion and a Mercedes. It didn't work out that way.
Not.
But it was cool in how God led me out of all that stuff, and how, I did feel happier because there was some kind of change that was in my heart, and then there was hope. And so I'm not going to tell you or candy code anything here, that once you give your life completely over to God, that there is this snap of a finger and magically everything is different from where you're living to the money that you make and all that stuff. No. There's something that happens within inside the heart. And then you're a new creation. The Bible told me that I was a new creation, and that old stuff is gone, the new stuff has come, and then he starts to lead you on this journey of the story that he has set. Which just blows my mind that God does that.
And sometimes, like, even in those struggles, because God never says it's going to be easy, that there's going to be life without struggle. But in that struggle, you can give it to him, and you don't have to worry about it. You give it over to God, and he's got it on his shoulders, and you can just rely on his strength.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
Man, you start walking through that fire, then all of a sudden, there is God walking through it with you. That's comforting. It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
Yeah, what has God done in our lives? How has he changed our lives? 800-447-7234. So Anne reached out and said, I grew up in church all my life until I left my family at the age of 18. She says, I put myself in some horrible situations, saw things, went through some tough times. I lost control of my life, had no hope. But a year ago, she gave her life back to Christ. And she said, now I listen to worship music 24/7, go back to church. And the enemy thought he had me. But Jesus said, you are mine.
So good. Here's Kylie. What about you, Kylie?
My oldest brother had an aneurysm. And the doctors, all of them, the whole team, the speech therapist, everything, they were saying that we should put him in a home because he'd never recover. I held on to his wife, and I said, I'm going to say something. And she said, don't. And I said, nope, I have to. And I told the whole team, I said, you don't know our family. You don't know my brother. And you certainly don't know our faith. And he will walk out of this hospital. And he did 3 months later.
Such an answer to prayer. He just won't give up. Amazing. So how's your brother today?
He's paralyzed on the left side, but he can walk. He does very well, and his attitude is amazing. Everybody calls him Smiley now. So God works wonders, and you just have to believe.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
So here's a guy in an easy chair, and then there's a couch with 3 other gentlemen on it. I think there's a little OCD stuff going on because the easy chair and the couch have this looks like a moving blanket over it that they're sitting on. Don't want the stuff to get dirty.
Protecting it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you press play, all of a sudden you hear this beautiful noise come out of the speakers.
Are you weary? Are you heavy-hearted? Tell it to Jesus. Tell it
Wow.
to Jesus.
I'm not in a Southern gospel.
That's good.
Oh, come on.
That is just art right there.
All this a cappella, and I like the bass. Let me hear the bass guy here.
There it is.
That's so nice.
I can listen to that
So
all night.
I started looking a little closer, and I went, okay, these must be brothers. Mm-hmm. They all look very similar to each other. The guy that's on the easy chair, the three gentlemen that are on the couch, they're all wearing some type of hat. They all have some type of a vest on.
Yeah, it looks like maybe almost the same type of vest.
And then I started learning, oh, wait a minute. They're all named Keoma. It's the same dude
Oh, wow. So
doing all the parts.
who better to harmonize with than yourself?
Than yourself, yeah. You know? And the way he put this all together to look like it's four different people, but it's all him.
And you can't tell. Like, how did he edit like
Well,
that?
here's the thing. This is, caught the viral sensation by storm.
And it should.
And people are hearing about, hey, tell it to Jesus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're being captured by the video, by the sound, because it's so rich and awesome, but getting that message too.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
There's a cheer squad that you might be able to join. It's Rob and Liz, his radio. You do have to be over 55 years old to be on this cheer squad.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
They're getting their exercise that way. Cheering is a difficult thing because you have to do, the jumping up and down for
The
hours at a
jumping up
time.
and down.
I mean, for hours at a time, and then the every now and then there's a round off or a cartwheel. And
What's a round off?
so a round off is like you start like a cartwheel, but instead of keeping your legs apart as you go over, you bring your legs together and you go over. Oh, I used to get in the front yard and just round off like all around the yard.
Really?
I mean, that's been a minute, but
I feel like I can do it, but I think my legs don't get all the way up. You know how you look awkward and you're doing it, and you in your mind, you just did the perfect cartwheel.
I've done it where I thought like Rob thinks, oh, I can do that, and then halfway over, you just crumple into a mess on the
Or you
floor.
think that was perfect. I landed that well. And then someone shows it to you back that has it on their phone and said, listen, here's what you did. And you go, oh.
That's terrible.
It's like when you're middle aged and you try to dance and then you see yourself back and went, no.
Whatever, I can dance.
No.
Whatever.
Liz can.
I can.
I can't. I mean, it's disgusting. And people lose their lunch.
Not at all.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But you got to hand it to a cheer squad of young ladies over 55.
So, and they're not just like right at 55. I think there's only like one or two because I'm looking at the pictures now. You can see this on his radio TV. But I looked and a lot of them are in their 80s. There's one that's 90. She's 90 and she's in a cheer squad.
She's the one that actually does the flip, where the guy throws them up in the air?
Top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
I don't know if you're fans of Indiana Jones, but number 5 is coming out. And this is, Harrison Ford in his prime of life at 80.
Yeah.
In Indiana Jones 5. Here's what I heard, though, that the first 25 minutes of Indiana Jones is going to be like a flashback of what happened since The Last Crusade.
Oh, so it's not a flashback like they got footage from
all the other movies? No, not at
it's-
all. So it's The Last Crusade. That's the one with Sean Connery as his dad, right?
It was so good.
The Elder
Oh, my
Jones.
goodness, yeah.
Because he's a junior. Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford's character is a junior.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you'll see what happened after that. My thought was, oh, no, they're not going to do that to him. You know how when you see an older character in a movie, and then they make them younger, and the makeup's horrible, and they dye the hair, and you're like, no, he's not 20, 30 years younger.
Or it looks like a jib jab where they
right?
put a fake face on it.
But it
kinda.
looks like they did the whole CGI thing, and
good.
maybe AI. I don't know. So we'll see when it comes out. But they have little glimpses of what this looks like.
I wonder what that's like for Harrison Ford to see him, as his young self, kind of again
Right?
with new footage. Like it wasn't old footage. It's actually new stuff, but he's younger. Wow, that's got to be
Right?
a brain warp.
Yeah. And so it gives some perspective. Although I think there's some leaked information that Scott has found. And since he does our news, of course, he would know all
He
this
would
stuff,
know.
right?
I mean, what did you say? He's 80
Yeah.
years old?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the next one they're working on afterwards, Indiana Jones and the Afternoon Nap.
Oh, that's mean.
That's accurate.
I hear it's a sleeper.
Oh, no.
Ba-dum-bum.
So, you know what? I feel like I've seen this. Don't they have a meme or something like this that's out?
Yeah.
They
I
do?
saw somebody put together a picture of makeup of like what a movie trailer poster might look like, and it's got Indiana Jones kind of propped up on his fist, Indiana Jones and the Afternoon Nap.
Oh, and it looks so good.
It looks just like it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Indiana Jones.
fedora and everything, and it's in the type Indiana Jones, how it's, all the orange and yellow. It's
Liz
very
has
good.
seen it.
It's good. I'm looking at it right now on his
Well,
radio TV.
look at her go looking at it.
Yeah.
Rob and Liz.
His morning crew.
I don't know how this is going to change things for you if you bring like youth groups or school trips to Carowinds. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio. You may have heard about this already because I was talking to the youth pastor at my church yesterday going, hey, did you hear? He goes, yeah, it doesn't affect us too much. We're not going. No, okay.
Oh, I guess if you're
Great.
not going, it doesn't.
All right.
Yeah.
They used to go, but and I'm getting ready to go back into youth ministry with my 8th grader going back into high school.
Oh, that's so good.
Not going back into high school, going into high school. I'm going back into never mind. But anyway, if you haven't heard just yet, now Carowinds, and probably after the incident of the 13-year-old that went into the claw machine to try to get something, got stuck, and now he's banned for a year, right? So now they laid down some rules at Carowinds when it comes to teenagers 15 and younger, always have to be accompanied by an adult. And the adult has to have their ID on them, too, to make sure that you are an adult. Now, I'm sure if I was the chaperone, there would be no question. The dude's got gray hair.
But if the chaperone's 21 years old, then, yeah, you might need to check the ID.
Yeah.
And the chaperone has to stay with or very near the child or the teenager.
I think it's 10. You have to have 10. You can
have up to 10.
Up to 10 in a group with a chaperone.
With one chaperone. But one chaperone for a group of 10, 15-year-olds.
That's a lot to watch. Yeah.
And not to say, 15-year-olds are bad. That's not it. There's just a lot of energy there. So I would think, and especially to keep eyes on them, which I think is what Carowin is asking for. That's a lot of responsibility for one chaperone.
See, I did an 8th grade trip, and on this 8th grade trip, they could go by threes at the theme park that we went to in Virginia somewhere.
Yes, that's what happened. Our boys had an 8th grade trip to Orlando, and when they went to the theme park, it had to be like a group of 3 or 4.
Not Carowinds anymore. One bad apple sometimes ruins it for everybody.
Yeah, well,
and I don't know that's the reason why they did this.
It just seems coincidental.
It does, after what happened with the young man that went to that machine, who learned a lesson.
Yeah,
He'll
absolutely.
never do that again.
Well, he can't go back for a year, but, maybe Carowinds and some other theme parks are taking a step back and saying, okay, how can we make things better for every single visitor that comes to our parks?
Rob and Liz.
His morning crew.
There's a reason why when you go to the beach or you go somewhere, you don't feed the birds because they will just converge on you. I mean, a million birds.
You try to just be kind to one.
I know, it's so sweet. And then they call their friends.
Yeah, it's like, hey, come on over here. Mama Liz has some bread.
She has some crackers. They're like peanut butter.
And
Come
I
on.
think, correct me if I'm wrong, last time that our families were at Myrtle Beach together, you didn't you? I thought I saw, because Eli and I were out in the water, and there's you and Joey underneath one of those cabana things.
I try because the one comes up to you and just, gives you the little
And
sad birdie eyes.
She did, and then all of a
Here
sudden, there
comes a
must have
friend.
been 500 seagulls.
And I know this. I know it's going to happen. But when I see an animal that's hungry or is
Yeah.
acting as though, then I need to do this.
And then one made a mess in my hair, and that was not nice.
That did not happen. So there is evidently somebody like me in England because at the Blackpool Zoo, they're having a real problem with seagulls.
I heard about this.
So what
I
they've
love
done is they're taking it to an extreme, and they are having some of their people that work there at the zoo and probably some volunteers dress up in a seagull costume.
They're literally hiring people to help.
And it's like an inflatable costume. So it must have a little fan in it or whatever. And they walk around, and the seagulls, the real live seagulls, are a little freaked out by it. And so,
well, so are the humans.
yeah, a little bit. And they're keeping them away. So it's working. So maybe the next time, Rob, you go to the beach, maybe Rob can wear one of these.
Hey, you float out in the Atlantic.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio.
When you go into a restaurant and you have kids with you, a lot of times they'll give you a kids menu and it'll have a couple of crayons with it. Sometimes the kid wants to mark on the table.
And it happens.
And
yeah.
it does happen. And I
Mine
think they
did.
know that. I mean, but sometimes they put the white paper down and then they can scribble all over it. I've never heard of this at a museum until now. There's a museum that when the kids get there, they give them like a little activity packet, and it has a piece of paper and it has probably tic-tac-toe and some things on it, answering questions about the museum. Somebody needs to take the crayons back up before the kids go and look at some of the priceless works
What'd they
of
do?
art.
Write all over the bathroom or something?
No.
What?
They wrote all over 230-year-old statues.
No, they did not.
Oh, they did. They gave it eyeballs.
No.
They were trying to color the hair, put a little makeup on the lady. They wanted her to have blue eyes, and it looks like most of the crayons are blue. And it's on so many different pieces of art. And it looks mostly like statues, not like paintings or anything.
So they colored more than just the one?
Oh, yeah. They colored a couple of dudes. They colored a couple of ladies. Yeah.
Was it like scribble or was it
Yeah,
like
it was
real?
just plain scribble. But
So they sound like they were younger kids.
it sounds like it. I wouldn't think they were 13 or 14 or anything like that. But I'm thinking elementary school, is.
Were the chaperones during all this?
I'm not real sure.
How do you not notice
That's happening?
the
Because
amount of
it's-
scribble that's all over these statues?
There's so much scribble. So there's one statue that she's sort of lying back, and they scribbled all over her face, her body, the robe that she has on, like scribbled all over. I mean, this kid was like, you want art? I got you art.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
I don't believe this. I really don't. Rob is going to share some news about being on an airplane, and I just don't know if I believe this. Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio.
Just a question. I'll ask Liz first.
Yes.
Where do you sit when you're on a plane?
I like to sit by the window, and I like to sit about midway.
Okay, I'll ask Scott the same question. When you're on a plane, where do you sit?
I used to like to sit in the window, but now as I've gotten older, I've shifted to the aisle.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Same thing. I want to beeline to the restroom.
Okay, all right.
I want to jump over people
Yeah.
to get there. Jake, one of our producers, when you're on a plane, where do you like to sit?
I like to sit on the window seat.
Okay, window seat.
Yeah.
Ninja, how about you?
Window seat.
Window seat. I noticed nobody said what side of the plane.
It doesn't matter. I mean, they're basically.
There's a preference. You don't have to live by this, but they say left side of the plane is the best.
But why?
There's more room.
No, there's not. Why would
That's
there be
it.
more room on
There's
the left
just
side?
a little more room on the left side. That's why they say go to the left side of the plane. Sit there.
That doesn't make sense because if there's more room on the left side, that means there's more stuff on the right side, right?
Sure.
Okay, so then the plane would fly wonky.
Okay.
I would.
They know how to
think.
distribute weight.
It doesn't make sense. This is
Yeah,
what,
they know how to
so-
distribute weight. They see a guy like me come in. They get the belt
Oh
extender,
no.
and they put me on the right side of the plane.
No.
It evens it out.
No.
Every time it evens it out.
No. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't.
There's more. Hey, it's a they say. It's not a Rob says.
Well, I'm taking a tape measure the next time I get on a plane. Do you think they'll kick me off if I start measuring stuff?
Yep.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Looks like there's something up with your Prime. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio.
So I've been watching quite a few movies on Amazon Prime. There is one, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I think that's what it was on. Such a good movie. That one, you don't need the extra boost in the dialogue, but in some of those like big action, what is it, Jack Ryan, the CIA espionage kind of, there's a lot of explosions. What?
Nothing.
Rob's face is like, you got that wrong. But anyway, you can boost dialogue now on Amazon Prime.
Good. So lower the music and the effects and boost the voices.
Yes, because the music sometimes swells so loudly that it's like, what now? And so every now and then I'll put on closed captioning. My daughter puts it on all the time, which I don't get that. But
What do you mean you don't get that?
I don't get that you want it on all the time.
Well, she's used to it.
She is used to it. She likes to read it, so she knows exactly, I guess, what they're saying. But I only turn it on like on the big Top Gun type movies that has a lot of that.
That would be
background noise.
irritating to me. Have to read the whole movie.
Well, you do miss what's going on the screen just a little bit, but with this, you can choose to boost the dialogue over the music. And so, if you do have some issues with hearing, it's going to help with that. I can do that on my treadmill.
I think Scott has a sound bar that does this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like this a lot. We got a sound bar to kind of boost the sound of the television or flat screen. And one of the features is dialogue boost. And we turn it on, and it helps so much. So I like that because sometimes you get the mix of the explosions kind of drown out that dialogue.
Now, Liz mentioned her treadmill. What do you have, a Peloton? Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a difference. They produce it to do that. It doesn't boost like something. So I think there's flaws in this boost thing you're talking about with Prime and even Scott's soundbar. It's not flawless, is it, Scott?
No, it could. There's always room for improvement.
Yeah,
but it helps.
See? So they try their best to grab some kind of certain frequencies and boost them up so that you hear the dialogue a tad bit better. But with the Peloton that Liz is talking about, they produce it like that. So you can pick whatever production you want.
Yeah, you can actually boost the music over the instructor. And sometimes I'll have an instructor that I'm like not really down with, and I kind of want to drown them out a little bit.
You want to drown them out.
And then I like the
they
music.
give you the three options.
They do, and
Yeah.
I love it.
And they produce it that way.
Okay, I
so
didn't
that
know
way
that.
it's better. It's more. It's better because the other one is flawed. It's stuff that's not produced to
and
boost
it's
it.
more personal, because there might be some movies, maybe they need to work on that because there may be some movies like Footloose or something like that where you want to hear the music over
You can't. You have to remaster the whole thing.
Okay.
She don't care.